What's going on, everybody? It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and it's another super Saturday with lots of hockey games going on, so we got to introduce the crew. We have Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo! Hello, everyone.
And the man who was not bit by a spider, but in fact bit by a goat. It is Adam.
Unsilent response.
Lots of NHL games. Today's a pretty busy Saturday. No football, no NFL football. Is some CFO news, but of course, we're here to talk NHL at the moment. But lots of games going on in the NHL today. Of course, I'm sure Leaf Nation is patiently, nervously waiting for the game today against Vancouver. William Nylander is coming back into the lineup by the looks of it, so that's a big up. But some other interesting games in the NHL as well today. I mean, we're coming down to that Olympic stretch. Teams are looking to finish strong. Currently, the Kings are up 2-0 over the Philadelphia Flyers. Wow. Avalanche up 1-0 over the Red Wings. If you're a Leaf fan, you're really hoping for an Avs victory today.
Oh, for
Rangers play the Penguins at 3:30. Sharks play the Flames at 4. Panthers play the Jets at 4 as well. Again, Leaf fans, you got to become Winnipeg Jet fans today. Carolina plays the Capitals, Devils, Senators. Almar making his first start back with the Ottawa Senators. Go ahead, Dan.
Good for him. That's awesome. It's horrible what him and his family are going through this season. I wish nothing but the best for him, even though I'm a Leaf fan.
I feel the exact same way. Almar, from what I've heard, is a phenomenal human being, and I still think what people on social media have done to him and his family is just sickening. And I'll put it this way: as a Leaf fan, I want the Devils to win, but a nice 1-0 New Jersey win of Almar playing a great game would be a nice way for me to have it. But then, of course, we have the Predators versus the Islanders. Interesting one for the Predators. They have actually clawed their way back into the playoff race. Blue Jackets versus Blues. Leafs versus Canucks. Canadians versus Sabres. Just as a Leaf fan, let's just hope for no overtime in that one. I'm surprised Adam didn't yell at me for saying overtime.
About what?
Because I said overtime.
Wasn't playing attention. No.
Adam hates when I say the word overtime.
No, that's when we're covering hockey. Because I don't want to be there late. Who the heck wants to be there late?
But
I don't want to be there until 1 a.m.
Why not?
Because I want to sleep. And
sleep's overrated. Stars versus the Mammoth as well. Wild, Oilers, Kraken, Golden Knights. So we got a lot of big hockey games today. Kind of weird. I don't know if you guys find it weird, the NHL schedule. Yesterday, we only have one game.
Yeah, it was great.
And then today, we have 8,000.
You would think they would take advantage of yesterday having no NFL this weekend, right? You would think all 32 teams play with no, NFL.
What, on a Friday?
Right?
What, on a Friday?
Even on a Friday. You have Friday Night Football in the other series.
Well, it's just the way that they have to do. They've been doing the schedule's been really weird this year just because of the Olympic break coming up. Yeah, they had to cram. It's just weird how the scheduling has worked out. I'd rather have more games on a Saturday than a Friday, to be honest. Yeah. I like having a more packed Saturday. You can play more games. You're not going to have people in an arena at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. On a Friday, that's why they can do so many more games on the weekend. On Friday, you can't do afternoon games because everybody's at work.
Right.
It is weird when we have one game on Friday and then have this many today. But Saturday is certainly a hockey day, that's for sure. But out of those games, there are a couple that really catch my attention. Obviously, the Leafs versus the Canucks as a Leaf fan, and the Leafs got to find a way to get some points. They've been really struggling. Oilers and Wild, I think, will be a great game. Same with the Canadians and the Sabres. So those are the three games out of all of them that I dived off. Those are the three that I think will be the most interesting today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those three are definitely interesting because they're most impact in the playoff race, right?
Well, and lately Edmonton's just been so exciting to watch too, right? The Oilers have really found a way to play some really exciting hockey lately, and making me eat my words about Evan Bouchard, who does what he does. He's either the best defenseman on the ice or he's the worst defenseman on the ice, and lately he's been the best.
The team I'm really shocked about is Los Angeles. I mean, going into this season with Los Angeles signing Corey Perry and stuff, I thought Los Angeles could make a cup one, and now they're about the same spot as where the Maple Leafs are now, but in the West Conference. They might not make the playoffs.
They've been teetering for years. They've been teetering for years, though, to be fair.
They have been, yeah.
They've been teetering.
This was for a year.
No, but teetering, I mean teetering on the verge of not making it. Like, the team hasn't been, the way they built their team is just like, I liked some of the move they made, but they overpaid for a lot of players that they didn't necessarily even need. Like, it was just a really weird like off season for them. I don't know. They've also had just rotten luck, especially in the playoffs, like having to play Oilers for 3 straight years. But like they're only a point back of the other teams in their division, like the third place team in their division right now. So
and they're only 2 points, and they're 2 points out of a wild card spot. So like they're right there.
It's not horrendous right now for them.
I think the big surprise has been Anaheim, how, Anaheim is right in this mix. I wasn't expecting them trading John Gibson was going to make them better, and losing on Trevor Zegras, but they look a lot better this year.
Again, John Gibson hasn't been like amazing the last couple of years for them, though. Like, he hasn't been. True. They've sucked. Like, so it's not fair to him. But it's also like, I think John Gibson's wanted to leave for like years, though, at this point. Like, I think it's been like, he's been rumored to be leaving for like 5 years now or something like that. The Leafs were rumored to be on him when rumors of him wanting to leave originally came up, but they never traded him. But he's been rumored to wanting to leave for like years out of Anaheim, but Anaheim just never wanted to deal him.
And let's be honest, when he was on a long-term deal, the Leaf trade rumor mill was just stupid. Like, there's so many rumors that come through that are nowhere to be seen. But what's interesting is when we came on here a couple weeks ago and we were talking standings, we're like, oh, well, the East is really tight on who might make it and who won't. But the West is pretty much, we know. Now, the West has gotten much tighter in the wild card race, where, to be honest, the East, Boston, Montreal have really pulled away from Florida, Columbus, Washington, New Jersey, Ottawa, Philly, and Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, like, you're looking now, like the closest is Florida, and they're still 8 points out of a playoff spot right now, right?
Yeah, but that could all change. That could all change.
Oh, no, it absolutely could. But I mean, it's just interesting because we were on here a couple weeks ago talking about how the West, we pretty much know is going to make it. Now, the West, for example, you have the Sharks, who are only 1 point out of a playoff spot. Kings are only 2 points out of a playoff spot. Predators are only 5 points out of a playoff spot. And the Blackhawks are 8 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, but like even a couple weeks ago when we came on here, we even said like you go on a run and you could just be all of a sudden you can be in a playoff spot because that's how tight. Like, I still think like 10 points is not something you can't crawl back like
no, a good
team still to go in a season. Like, you go on a run and you'll basically be in it. Like, you just need a little bit of luck and that's still something that could happen. Like, you never really know at the end of the day. But like, still, like, I still think there's like, I don't think Boston, it's not that I don't think, it's like inevitably like one team is going to stop playing as amazing as they have been. Montreal, great team, horrid goaltending. At some point, Montreal are going to go on. They're going to get, their luck is going to at some point, like, it may not, like, you never know, but there is the potential that their luck could just, as much as it's been up this year, it could very well run out and they could go on a bad run and somebody else can sneak into their spot. It's the same thing with Boston. Same thing with Detroit. I don't think Detroit are playing more, like, are playing up more up to their ability. They shouldn't be where they are. Now, John Gibson's been amazing recently, but again, they could very much fall off a cliff and be same thing with Buffalo. We've seen Buffalo do it before. It's happened before for Buffalo. Will it happen again? I don't know. But
the crazy thing is with the Sabres, I really thought once their huge winning streak ended, a losing streak was going to start. And after that big winning streak, they've been pretty consistent. Like now in their last 10, they're 7-2-1. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Tampa Bay Lightning, the same thing. They had that huge winning streak snap. They lost a couple, and now they're 8-1-1 again in their last 10. Like Detroit is the weaker one out of the 3 at the top of the Atlantic in their last 10, and they're still 6-2-2. So it's not like Detroit.
Tampa are exactly how everybody expected them to be.
I did not think Tampa would be this good this year. I did not.
I'm not surprised about Tampa.
I'm not. They have Vasilevsky. They still have much of their core from their cups are still there.
Like Hagel's very underrated. Points starting to come back. You got Vasilevsky. You got Kucherov, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the league. Like you got Victor Hedman, who's a tank. Like this is still a very, very good team. Like they could win the whole thing again this year.
Wouldn't be surprised if they did, to be honest.
Yeah, I really wouldn't. Like
they're a great team.
And they added some really good depth the last couple of years in the off seasons, like getting Jake Getzel from Pittsburgh really pissed Crosby off, getting Darren Wadis, Lane's favorite class, even Anthony Cirelli. I don't think he's gonna be Team Canada, but like he's a plus 29. I mean, he's playing phenomenal. Oliver Busklag, that was a really nice depth pick. Yannick Gorg, that was a really nice depth pick. Like Pontus Holberg, former Leaf, plus 15 points this year. Like that's a good, solid.
I hate to say it, I feel like we can say former Leaf a lot this year about players having a solid year. Like, it's been. Curtis I would Douglas say
is a tank heavyweight fighter.
This is, as a Leaf fan, this has been probably one of the most frustrating years since the Grabowski era.
Oh yeah.
Like, because it's the only differences of that era is versus this era. I feel this team is good enough that it could go on a run.
No.
Dan, hear me out.
I've been calling it since the preseason.
Okay, lovely. But I think this team, Dan, you can't say they can't because they got points in 12 straight games not that long ago. This team can do it. The problem is, and now I'm doubting more and more, will they actually do it?
Oh.
Because, like, you're looking at the Leafs right now, and you have to jump some pretty good teams like Florida, Washington, and even Ottawa, which Ottawa is a team, if their goaltending is starting to stabilize, Omar coming back, let's hope that his mental health is in a better state and he can play the way he's capable of. I think Ottawa is a team that could maybe squeeze in. And the frustrating thing, if you're a Leaf fan, if you were just mediocre on the road, you'd be in the playoffs. Like your home record, 16-9-6. Like, but your road record is 8-12-3. You go 500 on the road, you're in the playoffs right now. So
Toronto's defense too. Why is just because they got
Dan's
so many
defending
injuries
Toronto
this year. Like William Nylander, like he was on pace to be one of the best players in the league points wise this year before he got hurt. Chris Tanev is obviously the glue of his decor, right? And losing him, and so you losing those two for the majority of the year is really going to hurt you. I understand when your big superstars get injured, last time or like someone to step it up in their minor system, which is fantastic. But the Leafs are at the point where there's really no one left in their minor system to step up. Like you have Jacob Quinlan, who I think's been disappointing, but besides of that, that's all you got.
We have an interesting comment here about the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit should get someone like Trocheck or maybe another defenseman, and they have a lot of good young prospects to come up, like Willander and Artie, who, when they're ready, good learning experience when they make the playoffs. And Nick, thank you for joining us back at the desk. Good friend of mine.
Totally agree with you, Nick.
And I agree with you about the Detroit Red Wings here a lot. I would riddle me this: if the Leafs sell Jake McCabe to Detroit to stabilize the defense.
Well, I hope not.
If the Leafs, Dan, you can't say you want the Leafs to sell and then say,
I don't think it works with what they're trying to do, though. Like I think a big thing
Detroit's trying to do.
I think what would be big for Detroit, like I think defensively, like they're just very young. Like, and I don't think bringing in like Jake McCabe, phenomenal defenseman, but like it also takes away from what they're trying to do, which is give experience to Sandin Pellikka, like all their young defensemen that they have up here this year. The point of playing them, the point they didn't go out and get another experienced defenseman was because they wanted to give minutes to their young guys. That was the whole That was the whole point of having them up here this year, was to give them the minutes. You're taking minutes away from them by acquiring. I think it would be a good move. I don't think they should go get Trocheck. I think Trocheck's a good player, but like if you're going to go out and get somebody, Detroit might as well go for Panarin. He's right there. He's literally right on the same team that Trocheck's on. He might cost more than Trocheck. But like if you're going to go and get somebody, go and get Panarin.
Didn't Panarin play with
better
Kane?
Player? Panarin and Kane did play together for 2-3 seasons when Panarin came over.
Seasons, yeah.
Originally, when Panarin came over, he was with it was him and Kane before Kane and DeBrincat. So you bring Panarin in. That's
the issue though with Panarin is he wants a 4-year extension and he's 34. I don't see Detroit wanting.
Who cares?
Trocheck's older than Panarin is.
Yeah, I think Panarin's a good move.
That's why I said, like, if you're going to go out and get somebody, you're going to go out and get a better, like a older veteran player, another older veteran player to come in. You might as well just go for Panarin because he's on the same team.
Well,
Panarin's going to cost more than Trocheck, but if I was Detroit, I was Steve Yzerman, because the frustration with Yzerman in the past couple of years for Detroit fans, for Detroit in general, is that the rebuild has been poor. The way they've gone about their retool/rebuild, whatever the heck they want to call this at this point, it's taken way too long. They've been too close to the playoffs. If I'm Detroit, I have the goalie in Gibson. The defense is still young, so it's still like, and you're still in a playoff spot at this point. Like maybe a drop off is coming, maybe it's not. You never know at this point. But I don't think their defense has been horrendous enough where you need to address it like right now, because you're in the playoffs still. And if Gibson can steal you a couple games, you might as well just keep it as it is. I would go out and get Panarin. Go get another deadly scorer/playmaker. Go out and get him and just just try and get into the playoffs. If you don't make it, you don't make it. But it's like Detroit's been playing well enough to make the playoffs this year.
At this point,
I actually agree with Jacob. I think Jake McCabe would be great for Detroit because I get what you're saying, Adam, but for young defense. But I think with Detroit, I think they almost skipped a step. They were so bad for so many years. And I think they predicted when they finally made the playoffs, they would finish around that 8-7 spot, like a wild card spot. And if that was the point, I totally agree with you. Give the young guys playing time because you're probably not going to make it past good teams. But now you're at the point where Detroit skipped that step. Now they're top in the conference. Call me crazy. I think this Detroit team can make a very deep one. And I think if you're ready to make a deep one, you're past that point of giving young guys ice time. You got to give someone like McCabe in there to try and win you a Stanley Cup.
Well, whether it's a Jake
McCabe,
you don't
need to go in and win a cup, though.
Why not?
That's the thing. Like there's but get what I'm saying though. You don't need to go out. The point of this season for Detroit, they've missed the playoffs 2 straight years. They were worse last year than they were the year before.
Oh, for sure.
When they nearly made the playoffs. This team, if your goal is to win a cup, then you're playing beyond your ability at this point. You're thinking this team has not made the playoffs at all for the past, decade plus. Mm-hmm. It's not been great. Their goal this year should not be for a Stanley Cup. It shouldn't be it's a great goal. But your goal should be to get into the playoffs and then see what happens. I don't think it's their I don't think this team is built for a deep run. Even if they acquire Jake McCabe, let's say, that, in my opinion, doesn't stabilize their defense. He's a great pickup, but it doesn't stabilize it just bringing him in at this point. And their defense actually isn't even really that young. They have Ben Sherrod, who's 34.
They just resigned him.
Gustafsson, veteran at 33. Hammock, 35. Albert Johan, they have 3, and then the rest of their defensemen are all under 25 or under. Edvinson's still 22. Mort Seider has been playing.
He's phenomenal.
It feels like forever. He's only 24. Yeah. Sandy Pellikka is 20, and he's been playing pro hockey in Sweden.
Sandy Pellikka is I'm excited to continue to see him develop.
I don't think this team is built it's built to make the playoffs. This team is it's a playoff team. I thought they were a playoff team the last 2 years. But again, they didn't make it because at the end of the day,
Justin Hall.
We don't talk about Justin Hall.
That.
We don't talk
1 year
about
they
him.
get rid of Justin Hall for finding a playoff team. 1 year we dump him in the minors.
I think if anything, I don't think their defense needs anybody else. That's my opinion. I don't think they need to add anything else defensively because I think their defense can be fine. Like that, there's enough talent on that defense that it should be fine. At the end of the day, there's enough experience. You don't need to add more experience in Jake McCabe. That's just my opinion. I don't think you need it. I don't think you need it though.
The way I look at it, if you're I think any of the 16 teams that make the playoffs will take another veteran defenseman. I mean, you're also going to get injuries of block shots.
I don't think you're getting Dan, but my point is that you don't. It's not that that it's cool to add more experience. I'm saying they don't need it. It's not that it's cool to add it, but you don't need it. You can't say they need it when they have plenty of experience on this team. They're like Ben Sherratt, 34. He's made the playoffs. Eric Gustafsson made the playoffs.
Justin Hall made the playoffs.
Justin
Eric
Hall
Gustafsson's only played one game.
John Gibson made the playoffs. Cam Talbot made the playoffs. JVR made the playoffs. Patrick Kane won 3 Stanley Cups. JT Compher made the playoffs. Dylan Larkin's never made the playoffs. Andrew Kopp's made the playoffs. Mason Appleton's made the playoffs. You have experience where you don't need the necessary experience at this point. Like, you don't need to add any more experience. This team, if anything that Detroit needs, it is another forward. If anything, if you need anything, then you need more help forward-wise. That's about it. Defensively, if you add McCabe, I'm cool to have, but I would rather acquire anybody else. Like, I would acquire another defenseman. Like, I love Jake McCabe, phenomenal defenseman. I love him because he plays for my team, and I think he's a great defenseman. But if I'm going to add anything, like if I'm going to add another defenseman, I don't think they need a Jake McCabe on this team. That's
well, then can I say someone that's sort of in the middle, and you guys are probably going to laugh at me again, but that's okay. If you're more looking at thinking you want this defense to just, it's young, so you're looking like this is your defense of the future, but you're just looking to get better for this playoff run. Do you call about Luke Schenn in Winnipeg, a 36-year-old veteran defenseman, put him and Ben Sherratt together as a pure shutdown pair, and then you know what? His contract's at the end of this year, so you can get him, and then next year go back to continuing developing the young guys, but then you bring in a veteran who I think can help a lot with some of these young guys become more professional in the NHL environment. Luke Schenn's a guy that brings in a lot of culture. You probably only have to give a mid-round draft pick to get him, or as Nick is saying in the comment section, maybe even a Logan Stanley if you're looking to upgrade the defense. And I get what you're saying, Adam. When I actually look at the defense here, it is a mix, right? Like you have like your Ben Sherratts and your Hamonicks, but as Dan said, Gustafsson's hardly played. I think going on a playoff run, I don't know if the Detroit Red Wings fan base will be happy with a first round exit, considering they might win the division this year. They haven't made
the playoffs in a decade.
I understand that, but at the same time, when you win your division or you're close to winning the division, you have higher expectations. And if just making it, and I understand, Adam, at the start of the year, I would have agreed with you. We're at a different point now in the season. And right now, if Detroit playoff starts today, they're playing Buffalo. And look, I'm going to be honest, in a lot of stats, Buffalo's actually better than Detroit. So I think bringing in, whether it's another defenseman, whether it's a veteran forward, personally, instead of Trocheck, I would be calling Calgary about a Nazem Kadri instead. Because I think Panarin is too risky at his age with wanting a 4-year extension.
34 is not that old, bro.
Apparently, Detroit's one of the teams. Apparently, Detroit is one of the teams he'll extend with.
Right.
There's only been 5 or 6 teams that have been talked about that have been teams that are Timmy Panarin he won't get there. Certain, I know Yzerman. I know on the article I read, Yzerman won't make the deal unless there's an extension in place. Same thing. The Sharks are fine without an extension, if I'm not mistaken. But there are teams that aren't going to make a deal for Artemi Panarin unless there's an extension in place. I'll say this, Jacob, I understand like you're close to winning the division. Yeah, your expectations should be higher. But they also, when you think about it, if your expectations going into the playoffs after barely missing it, or after missing it and being worse than you were the year before and barely missing it the year before that, you shouldn't, if your expectations are high, you're going to get disappointed. This Detroit team, I say that they can make the playoffs and they should. This team is good enough to be in the playoffs. A second round is probably their ceiling at this point. Like it's a veteran mixed with youth. But at this point, whatever Yzerman's plan was to begin his tenure in Detroit, it's been a bloody disaster since then. And everything he's tried hasn't worked. I like Luke Schenn, another great defenseman. But again, I don't think that's what Detroit needs, because I don't think they need another slow, older defenseman on their team, because they are a very fast team. You watch Detroit play and they're quick. They're a fast team.
I don't know, dude.
Luke Schenn, phenomenal. No. Have you watched when the Leafs have played Detroit? They're a fast
team.
100%.
I've watched them.
Patrick Kane may be on the wrong side of 30, but Patrick Kane is still fast. DeBrincat, fast. Larkin, very fast.
Oh, I'm not disputing that.
They're big, I still think, they're quick. So I think adding another, even all of his experience, great in the defensive zone, phenomenal there. But, if you want to be quick, which is what Detroit is this season, they're a fast-paced, pushing the pace to type of team that attacks with pace and makes you make tons of mistakes and then hits you quick. Seen it against the Leafs, play all 4 games that they played against us. That's why they swept us, made us pay for our mistakes with their quick fire attacks.
Oh, I get that.
I don't think you're all the reasons, Jacob, you did say about acquiring Luke Schenn or Jake McCabe makes sense. That's something you definitely do want. But with the way Detroit has played this season and the way that maybe they do want to play for the rest of this year, I don't think acquiring a Luke Schenn or a Jake McCabe necessarily necessarily works with their play style, even though it would be a great thing to add for the playoffs, especially with how the playoffs are. I don't think it works with their play style, if that makes sense. I don't think it works with how
I get what you're saying. I don't completely agree with that. But I get what you're saying.
That's just me, though.
No, I understand. I look at Tampa Bay, and they won their back-to-back Stanley Cups. They were a fast young team too. And they got Luke Schenn in the mix. Everyone laughed at it. Well, Luke Schenn was the deciding factor of getting those 2 Stanley Cups. When you play in the playoff hockey, you need a big physical defenseman to play those tough 8 to 12 minutes a game. That's what wins you games in the trenches, right? And those penalty kills, those 5-on-3 penalty kills, when you're defending a 1-goal league and the other team's got the empty net. I'm not saying you're going to get someone like Luke Schenn and play him 25 minutes a game, but I think you do need a Luke Schenn, a Logan Stanley. Jake McCabe would be awesome, but there's a big body 6th or 7th defenseman to get in there to win those battles. Yeah, 6-7. I
will say, if you're going to acquire one of those 2, that means you're going for no offense to Detroit. I don't think they're there. But if you're going to acquire one of those 2 guys, you're acquiring them as a final piece to win a Stanley Cup. You're not acquiring it to make the playoffs and lose in the first or second round. That's not why you acquire one of those 2 guys, though. You see what I mean?
Right. I do. I just feel like Luke Schenn, you probably don't have to give up that much to get.
Jacob,
just to add a little bit of depth. Yes.
Can I finish my point, though? When you're Detroit at this point, because I feel like it's been the same thing this whole Steve Yzerman run. He's thinking too far in advance, and he's going and I get it, wanting to make the moves and going and pushing and you're trying to make the playoffs, but you're thinking, I think a lot of the time Steve Yzerman has done this in the past for Detroit. He's thinking too far ahead. He's trying to push too far ahead. I like what he did this offseason. I like what he's done this season. He's changed it up a little bit, and he hasn't tried to do too much when obviously Detroit needs one thing, and then he's ruining the whole vibe of everything. And it's like when you have somebody like Dylan Larkin at this point who's never made the playoffs in his career, never has touched the ice in the Stanley Cup playoffs for how phenomenal of a player Dylan Larkin is. He has never been in the playoffs before.
Like the Olli Okinen 20 years ago,
like, It's like at this point, with everything, Steve, I think acquired a Jake McCabe or Luke Shen, he's taking it again too far. Like it would be a step too far in what Detroit has to do this season. What Detroit should be aiming for. It's the playoffs. At this point, like adding one of those two would be great. It would add your chances of making the playoffs. It'd make you more. It would certainly make one of their pairings a very good defensive shutdown pairing. But I don't think they necessarily need it yet. It's something they could get in the offseason. Again, those two guys will be available to get in the offseason. Like Jake McCabe would be probably if the Leafs don't make the playoffs, Jake McCabe's going to be available in the offseason.
Jake McCabe does have a no move clause, right?
But he would be, but like it is somebody that the Leafs would look to trade.
Yeah,
I don't think Jake McCabe's an untouchable player.
No.
We're talking untouchable players. Like I still think no moves are so dumb. But it's like,
yeah, I agree.
You have to, like, it's not something Detroit needs to do this season. Like it's something that Tampa Bay would need. Maybe something Tampa Bay looks at. All their injuries. It's something that Florida would look at. Florida's looking at. Apparently, Artemi Panarin's interested in going to Florida, which makes zero sense for the way Florida plays. But again, Florida haven't been great this season. Like Florida can also sneak into the playoffs and absolutely just run over everybody and win it again because they're just phenomenal in the playoffs. But it's like, it's again, and I'll say it, because I've said it since the start of this season. I had concerns about Florida heading into this year. Have they been exactly right? Kind of. They've been a little bit right. There are the concerns because Matthew Tkachuk hasn't been great since he came back from injury. Now that's because he had a long layoff and he hadn't had an off season and all this. So you can say, yeah, there's that. Like look at Vasilevsky after they won the 2 cups. Terrible when he came back the next year because there was just so many injury, like he had no off season. And like I will say it, like I think the concern would be if Barkov isn't coming back this year. Like it looks like Barkov will be coming back, but how good will Alexander Barkov be after an ACL and MCL tear? Like those are those concerns as well.
Actually, all things considered, they haven't been terrible. Like considering they hasn't been Barkov, great. No Tkachuk.
And I will say it again. Florida will not win a Stanley Cup this year if Alexander Barkov isn't like 70% of what he is. Florida's been good this year, but Alexander Barkov
is the top 10 player in the NHL.
He is, despite all their other players and what you want to say about everybody, Alexander Barkov is the best player on the Florida Panthers. He is there. Like you need him. If Alexander Barkov's not there, they're not winning a Stanley Cup this year. I don't care who else is on their team. I don't care who else they ice. Barkov is that team. If they do not win, they don't win in the playoffs this year is because Alexander Barkov didn't play for basically the whole season.
There's 2 players in Florida that I say without them, they can't do it. Barkov's one of them. For me, the other one's Bobrovsky. Because I don't think Florida get where they get without the goaltending they've got in the last 2 playoff runs. So I would say, like, I don't think Florida, the way they're built, they're not a high-scoring team. So they need really solid goaltending and good two-way from their forwards. Barkov is the best two-way forward in the NHL. Bobrovsky is the best playoff goalie in the NHL. And I'm not saying best goalie overall in the NHL because regular season, statistically, he's just okay. But in the playoffs, he seems to find another gear. And for Florida, personally, if I'm Florida, depending on how things go up until the trade deadline, I don't think I'm buying or I'm selling. I think Florida is a team. You're kind of just calling this your write-off the way Boston did. You maybe move the odd piece to try to do a retool. But I don't think you're doing anything too crazy because you look at Boston, the retool on the fly for them has worked out really well, right?
It has.
And I think a team like Florida would be trying to do the same. A team that's a big question mark is actually the Washington Capitals as well. You know, they're only 2 points higher than the Leafs are in the standings.
with
59 points. They are one of two only teams outside of the playoffs of a positive goal differential, but both their goalies are injured now. And Washington's got it. So if those goalies are injured long term, do they make a move to try to bring in an Anthony Stolarz? Or there's rumors that the Leafs are shopping Hildeby, not Stolarz. So is it Hildeby that's on his way out, which I think would be a huge mistake.
Mistake.
That's the rumors around the rumor mill. And obviously it's hard to say what's going to happen at trade deadline, because I think we are too early to fully make those decisions. But a team like Detroit, I think they are definitely conservatively buying. Like, I don't think they're going to sell the whole farm, because I don't think they can win a cup this year. I do agree with Adam. But if you can bring in a solid piece and not have to give up too much, or a piece that you think will make your team better this year and 3 to 5 years down the road, then I think you do it. So maybe then a Panarin does make sense on a 4-year extension. You just worry because then he's going to be 38, 39.
You worry about when you get there,
he's still got 3 or 4 years left in his deal, so it's a similar situation.
Like, it's not just you talking about it, Jacob. It's other people talk about it. I don't care what the big deal is. Every contract, John's the same way. You worry about the last year and the last year. You upload the money, you get it going, so you make that push. I think if Detroit gets Panarin for the next 3 or 4 years, and you look at how good Detroit is this year, but it's going to keep getting better, hopefully. I think in 2 or 3 years, Detroit could make a cup one with Panarin added into the mix. And you got to do it now. Patrick Kane's getting older and older. Mm-hmm. And he's a big leadership presence in that dressing room, right? It's like, I don't get what the big – he's 34. It's not like he's 38, okay? Although Ovechkin's in his 40s and he's still getting 20 goals this year. Chris Chelios played until he was 42. Mark Messier played in his 40s. A lot of people – play in their 40s. Sidney Crosby's still over a point a game player, and he's almost 40. I don't get what the big deal is.
Although you're comparing,
who cares?
Oh, I care, because you're also comparing very different players. Like Ovechkin and Crosby are two of the greatest players in NHL history. Panarin's
still a point a game guy, and Panarin doesn't even full body check. You have nothing to worry about.
But I'm saying though, Panarin is not one of the best players in NHL history. He's good.
No, he's one of the top
putting him in the same conversation putting him in the same conversation as Sidney Crosby to me is.
I'm not doing that.
Yes, you did. You're just saying because Crosby can still get a point per game at his age, but Crosby has always been better than Panarin. Like that's just a known fact.
I get that, but I'm just.
I phenomenally agree with that. If Stolarz, I will say this: if Stolarz doesn't get traded this season, then it will all be. I'll blame both of them. I'm going to blame Berube and I'm going to blame Treliving if Stolarz isn't dealt, because for some reason there is something like Jacob has said in the past, he has some sort of like real like loyalty thing where he's just like, I got to play this guy because he's making whatever this amount of money. I'm like, if somebody is telling Berube not to play, to have to play Stolarz, like I don't care what the reason is you're playing Stolarz, because he has lost and played atrociously in each of his last 2 starts, just like he did at the start of the year. There's no difference in his play. He has been horrendous this season. I don't care if you're like doing it to like upgrade his trade value, because I could give 2 cares in the world. Just trade the guy.
If anything, it's making his trade value worse right now.
It's making it worse because it's this. You can't play a goalie and up his trade value, because it is honestly the dumbest thing you could do, because you're ruining the team's chances now. Hildeby has not played since January 17th. And that was a win. That was our last win. You don't trade both of them because who's going to be the backup? The young Russian dude, he's not going to play well when he plays. He's going to be played minutes at some point this year, and he's not going to play well. It was the same thing with Hildeby last year. We had no choice but to have Hildeby in the net last year, and he was atrocious every time he's hit the ice ahead of this season because he wasn't ready. This kid just came over from Russia
he's not ready
last year, I think. He is not ready for the NHL, and you were going to push that kid, and you're going to ruin his thing. Wool is fine. Wool is perfectly capable. He is playing.
You're not going to find a better goalie than Wolf for the money.
You're trying to push him. You're trying to put. I don't care about the money because you're pushing him to. You're pushing him through when he has no confidence. He has. I don't care that he's good. He's good in the AHL. That means nothing when you come up to the NHL. Being good in the AHL means nothing because the level is so different. I don't care that he's good in the AHL. I care that his confidence is fine. That's all I care about at the end of the day. If you ruin this kid's confidence, he's not going to be good anyways. So it doesn't really make a difference.
To answer this question in the comments about Nylander, again, he has a no move. So he would have to waive it. As much as he's waving fingers, I don't think he's waving no moves anytime soon.
He seems to love
I think Nylander loves being a little duty head sometimes. I think
he loves
Nylander. Like when you're looking at guys that could be moved, I mean, Jake McCabe also has a full new move, by the way, for the next 3 out of his 5 years on the contract. That's an interesting contract.
I will tell you exactly who the Leafs should
But
trade.
I could see Anthony Stolarz being on the way out, Max Domi, Bobby McMahon. I think you get a lot for McMahon.
Bobby McMahon's one untouchable.
Dan,
this is who
again,
you trade.
It depends. If you can't get a contract done by the deadline, you have to trade him. If you don't feel, hold on. But if you don't feel the team can go on a run to even make the playoffs, never mind win a Stanley Cup, then you have to trade guys like McMahon who are running out of contract. Because Bobby McMahon, you're probably getting at least a second-round pick and a prospect, maybe even a first-round pick and a prospect.
I want first-round pick for Bobby.
So will I say? Can I say what I was going to say now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my list, and Dan, don't interrupt me to say you don't want to trade Bobby McMahon. So this is what you do. This is going to be a retool. If you're going to do a retool, you trade pieces that you can get things back. You trade Stolarz. You get whatever you want. I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is. I could care two less. I just don't want him on this team anymore because he's not playing great. There's no need to have him again next season when you don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't care what he did last year. I don't care what he did in the playoffs. You trade him. Bobby McMahon, you trade him because his value's high. Screw it. Who cares? He's not going to get better than what he is right now. He's nearly 30 now. Like, I don't know how much better he's going to really get at the end of the day. McCabe, you trade him. He is value. You get whatever you want from him back. OEL, he's not going to be any better than he is now. Trade him. You get something back for him. I don't really care. If Morgan Rielly wants to leave, trade him. Again, Morgan Rielly doesn't leave this team unless I think he's earned the right. I don't care what any of you think at the end of the day. Morgan Rielly's earned the right after 10 plus years of service to pick where he goes and does whatever he wants.
I
trade Robertson because his value is good. You trade Machelli because his value is high. If you want to keep Waugh and Lawton, if you want to trade one of them, you trade Waugh, I think. I would love to keep Waugh, though. That you don't win a Nylander or Matthews deal. That much is obvious. Because everybody on Leafs Nation is just going to complain all throughout the offseason when they realize that, oh yeah, Nylander, we didn't get his true value and whatever. Like you're just making the situation worse. But like those guys, you can even trade Cowan if you want, if you really don't believe in Cowan that much, which seemingly nobody does.
No.
Like you might as well just trade Cowan and get whatever you can back for him.
I agree with that.
At this point. Like you trade whatever you can, retool. So what I think, and I still think this because it's a panic at this point to make any trades. You play the next 3 games, you win. You have to try and win every one of those games at this point. You want to try and get at least a point. That should be the goal. Get a damn point. I don't care how you do it. You get a point. I don't care how you do it. You go into that break. And then, as I said last time, you figure out what you want to do. Treliving, Berube, Pelly. You lock yourselves in a damn room for 2 weeks. And you figure out what the hell this team is supposed to be. And if you want to trade everybody, you want to figure it out and ask for everybody to waive their no moves and trade everybody, go ahead. Honestly, I saw an article earlier. Jacob, I was telling you about this article I saw. And it was talking about how the Leafs have to prove themselves to Austin Matthews ahead of like the 2 years. So it's basically what the Hughes situation was in Vancouver. I'm not comparing Matthews and McDavid, everybody, so calm yourselves down before you come at me for saying this. It's the same thing with the McDavid situation. You got to prove, like Matthews said ahead of signing his latest extension, his 4-year extension, he wanted to be here as long as the team was contending. So that's seemingly what he's going to want in 2 years' time when he has to re-up his extension again, where he's going to be making a ton of money, and he's not going to want to be here if they're not in contention. The Leafs have to prove that. It does, like Austin Matthews has already proved that he is a phenomenal hockey player. He's not gotten the team success he wants, and you can blame him all you want for that. But he is a great hockey player. He is a phenomenal hockey guy. He's not going to be here. He's not going to want to be here in 2 years' time if we're not contending. We're going to have to, it's the potential. We're going to have to trade him.
But on the flip side of that, though, I understand what you're saying, and I even understand the article saying you have to prove, the Leafs in a way have to prove it to Matthews. Could you not flip it the other way and say Matthews has to prove it to the Leafs if they even want to re-sign him in 2 years? Because
no, not exactly.
Yes, Adam, hold on. Hear me out, though. Mediocre playoffs numbers.
Yeah.
Failure every year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Prove what?
Yes,
though?
he's been a
like,
consistent,
what is it that he needs
a consistent
to prove,
goal scorer. I understand that. But I would say, and this is not me saying Matthews is a bad player. I think Matthews is a phenomenally talented guy. But sometimes a change just has to happen. And maybe this core group, it just doesn't work. And I would say as much as the Leafs, if the Leafs want Matthews to stay, yes, you need to do all these things and make sure he wants to stay in 2 years. But I would still say on the flip side, I think Matthews has to prove it to this fan base, especially, that he can be the guy to get it done. Because I'm just looking at this. I look at Matthews' tenure in Toronto. It's been very up and down. He's had some phenomenal years, followed by some mediocre playoffs. And we all ran Marner out of town because of the playoff success. And unfortunately, I could see the same thing happening with Austin Matthews. If either this year, I'm telling you, if next year it's another year where his numbers are up and down, they don't make the playoffs, or they make the playoffs and they go out first or second round, I don't think it's going to be, does Matthews want to stay in Toronto? I think it's going to be, does Toronto want to stick with Austin Matthews? Because you can't take the C off him, right? That's just not a thing anymore. So I understand that, Dan, but it's not going to happen.
Take the C off him.
It's not going to happen, though. So you have to look at that in a couple years. And I'm not saying make the move now. I see people say trade Matthews this year, and I think that, honestly, I think that's a stupid decision.
Get a grip about what? Sorry, that's not a callback. Sorry. I was replying to a callback. It said, get a grip, Adam.
I believe that's about your take on Austin Matthews, which again, I
didn't have a take on Austin Matthews. I said he's a great player, which is what he is.
No, but I think it's more about like, I get with this article you're referencing saying the Leafs have to prove it to Matthews. I think it's just as much Matthews has to prove it to the Leafs. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you, Jacob.
So what does he have? So does he have to prove? What is it?
He has to prove in the playoffs he can get it done. His playoff numbers are not good.
No,
there's no end of buts about it. Numbers don't lie. His playoff statistics are not great.
Horrific.
His playoff numbers aren't as bad as they could be.
Well, okay.
I'm not saying that they're not bad. They are not amazing.
They're not good, Adam. There's no denying it. They're not good.
I didn't say they weren't bad. I said they weren't as bad as they could be. That's what I said. I didn't say they were bad. I said they weren't as bad as they could be, because they could be worse. He's done worse.
Like, it always be worse.
He's been a point per game player in the playoffs twice.
As bad as it could be.
In 10 years.
But you're paying him as one of the top centers in the league.
I will, because he is one of the top centers in the league. When he is healthy, Dan. But when he is healthy, he is one of the best players. Okay, if you don't care, then why have him? Yeah, but that's not on Austin.
Guys,
that's
the Stanley
Cup is. He's a franchise guy. He's the captain. He's the first overall pick. He's getting paid $13 million. Yeah, it is on him at this point.
But this is an interesting comment here, comparing him to Ovechkin. Ovechkin hadn't got past the second round for how many years? And he's only won one Stanley Cup. And Ovechkin's known as one of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history.
Right.
And I'm seeing comments about 0 cups, from Wilder, and Wilder, always happy to have you back at the desk. And the 0 cups conversation, I don't think people talk about Wendell Clark not having any heart. He was voted as the face of the Leafs franchise in Leaf history.
100%.
And there's 0 cups for Wendell Clark. That's basically meaning every single Leaf captain has been a piece of crap since 1967. So I look at it with the Leafs. All I'm saying with the Austin Matthews situation is, yeah, I think in a way they need to prove to Matthews that they can be a contender, but I think Matthews has to prove to this team, if you want to be a $12 million paid guy, you can't just score goals. You got to win games.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, he's made the playoffs. I would not trade Austin Matthews after this season. I think that would be a bad decision. But I'm saying if it's another season like this next year, and we're halfway through the last year of his deal, and it's another season where it's not looking so hot, the conversation has to be had, saying to Matthews, you either need to take a pay cut or you got to go.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I get what you're saying, Adam. I understand.
No, but I don't think, like, no offense to you guys, I don't think you are, though. I don't agree with the article, because I don't think the Leafs need to necessarily prove it to Austin Matthews, because they've proven that they like, the team was fine. The team was playing fine. But I don't also necessarily agree that Austin Matthews needs to prove anything to the Leafs, because he'll go out into free agency in 2 years' time, and somebody's going to pay him $12+ million. That's a fact. But Austin Matthews, but as Dan continued to say, Austin Matthews it's not solely on Austin Matthews. And I will continue to say it, because it's not, because then you could say, well, it was solely on Alexander Ovechkin for 16+ years that he was apparently not one of the best players in hockey because he couldn't win a damn 2+ rounds of hockey. So then Ovechkin was a failure then. Let's all say it. One of the best goal scorers of all time. No, Dan, no. But he never won a cup for a majority of Alexander Ovechkin's career.
Yeah, I can't
debate. He was a failure. So outside of one season, Dan, Alexander Ovechkin,
I agree with that.
The greatest goal scorer. You hear what you're saying, though. The greatest goal scorer in NHL history.
Yep.
Him solely, not the Capitals. Him solely was a failure because he won. So was Wendell Clark's whole career a failure? His whole career was a failure then. Let's say that.
Well, we always say, even with the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's all crickety based on how many cups you win, right? So
he was a failure. And yes or no, failure.
You can argue that 100%.
No, because he didn't win a cup, so he was a failure. Just like Alexander Ovechkin was so he was a failure. Doug Gilmour.
No,
basically a failure for a majority of his career.
Adam, I think you're missing my point. I think you're missing my point. I'm not saying Austin Matthews is a failure. I'm not saying Austin Matthews is a failure. I'm not saying Ovechkin was a failure. What I am saying is you cannot, I think a comment here puts it best. If the Leafs don't rebuild, they're doomed to mediocrity forever. And that's kind of the issue with the Leafs right now. Something has to give. Adam, the team is mediocre.
No. Okay, can I say what I was like? You can't say doomed for Mario. Yeah, it's not great right now, but in 2 years,
if they don't change something, if you
we have all of our okay. Just keep yelling at me without getting my point across.
I'm not yelling.
After in 2 years' time, so just stop interrupting me. Stop not yelling, but stop interrupting when I'm getting to my point. In 2 years' time, they have all of their first round picks after 2 years. They have all their first round picks. If they're shit in 2 years, they got a bunch of first round picks. The organization will be fine. They can eventually, if Austin Matthews walks, at some point you got to be a more ruthless organization. Yeah, you let the Lightning have been fine because they are ruthless. The Golden Knights, ruthless. The team isn't ruthless. The organization, it's not the team. The organization has failed. Not the players, because I don't think it's fair to just blame the players. But it's not just the players' fault, because the organization has failed at every step for the last 10 years. So I'm not going to go ahead and just continually blame. Yeah, that sucks. But what do you like? The team was trying to compete.
Minton, there's no ifs or buts about it.
I will say this in defense of the move. When you're making, I hate. Because you could always argue a trade was bad when you look at it after the fact. I know, Jacob, you hated the trade. Yes, Jacob, that's what I was literally just about to say before you said that. I said Jacob hated the trade, but you could understand why they made the move in the moment, because they're trying to compete in a 19-year-old center who's never played more than 7 games in the NHL wasn't going to help them compete. Brandon Carlo was. That's why they made the move. They were trying to win a cup before they lost Marner. That's what they were trying to do.
Carlo was, I'm sorry, but
that the move didn't work out.
Carlo was not going to make this team a cup winning team.
But the team is not doomed for mediocrity, because in a couple years, when they suck, because they probably will once everybody leaves, because that will eventually happen, they will be fine, because they have all their picks at one point.
Adam, is if you continue to run it back with the same,
already mediocrity.
Fail.
It's already been mediocrity.
It's kind of like Montreal. Montreal, once the Price and Weber era was done, they accepted they were bad, and they got better. And slowly every year they got better. Where Toronto, I think I've said it once and I'll say it again. That one playoff run against they won one round. But when they made the playoffs the first year of Matthews, they jumped the gun. Kind of like Adam, what you're saying about Detroit.
I already said it. I've said it.
No, I know, but I'm saying, and what the Leafs have done is trying to chase that high ever since. And now we're here. I think the Leafs have 2 years basically to see what they can do with this core, because that's what Matthews' contract.
Why 2 years? Let's just get rid of him now.
No, Dan. Number one, you can't. Number two, that's silly. That's like saying, should have Washington traded Ovechkin 10 years ago?
Yeah,
could have gone a lot for him,
but if you look statistically, Ovechkin and Matthews very comparable careers so far.
Right.
You look at even Ovechkin, his early playoff numbers were not good.
Terrible, yeah.
They were until they got the right coach and the right system to play with that team. I look at Detroit. They got the right coach and the right system. Look at Buffalo. The right coach, the right system. Look at Tampa. The right coach, the right system. You either need to build a team around a coach or find a coach to go with the team you've built. And right now, Toronto has an offensive team with a defensive-minded coach, and it just doesn't work.
What's funny, Jacob, is that the Leafs aren't doomed for mediocrity forever, because they already are. That's what's funny. They've been mediocre for 10 years. That's what's funny about that comment, is that comment doesn't even, they already are mediocrity. We're just doomed to be terrible. That's what you should have said. You said the wrong thing. You used the wrong word. They already are mediocre. So they're going to just be worse. But it's like he's used the wrong word. It's only going to get worse. It's already mediocrity. Why are we talking about being mediocre forever? We're just going to be bad forever. It's already it can't get, at the end of the day, you can't trade anybody with no moves. And I'm sure somebody, if you ask them, I'm sure, unless they're being complete asses about it, they may just say, okay, fine. But I'm going to pick where I go. And that's okay, that's what kind of happens when you have a no move clause. But is the organization really? That's why I say you wait 3 games, you lock yourselves in a room for 2 weeks, and you figure out what the hell this team's supposed to be. And then you go out and you do what you need to do to figure it out. I'm sure Morgan Rielly at this point will accept a trade, because I think he's just fed up with this city. And fair enough. I feel for the guy. And I think he should get the heck out of here, because the city is doing exactly what it's done to everybody else for the last 10 years. I don't really care what his play's been like. The city has done the same thing, and it's going to do the same thing to everybody else on this team. It's going to do the same thing for the rest of time, because this city is toxic. There is more issues than the team.
No doubt.
There's more issues. There is more issues to this team than the team on the ice, and that's just a fact. There's more issues, and it comes down to just the city it plays in general. There's a lot of issues, and it's not just the team.
But I would say this though, and I'm curious. I think Dan will agree, and I'm not sure about Adam. And yeah, you got to be careful of all your periods. You don't want too many periods. But is it fair to say, I don't even think a loss in overtime is acceptable in your next 3? I think going in to the Olympic break, the Leafs have to go 3-0. They have to win these next 3 games. I understand points are points, and 2 overtime losses is the same as 1 win. The issue is, tonight, for example, Montreal or Buffalo are guaranteed 2 points. So a team you're chasing is guaranteed. Hell, there might be 3 points awarded in that game because that goes overtime. You have to. The Leafs are getting to a point where they need to go on a string of wins, and I would say these next 3 games between Vancouver, Calgary, I can't remember the last one.
Edmonton.
Edmonton's going to be tough, but Edmonton's a beatable team as well. You have to win those 3. If you win those 3, then you need to evaluate still after winning those 3, because let's say Montreal, Boston, and Buffalo also win the next 3, which is extremely possible. I love the way Montreal is playing right now. Talk about a team that I think could be a perfect fit for Anthony Stolarz, and that's the Montreal Canadiens. And I think if you're Toronto, you're soon. I'm not saying they're dead in the water yet, because they're not, but you're getting to a point soon if you start to string together some wins. And I think going into this Olympic break, it's really important because, as Adam said, they have 2 weeks now to lock themselves in a room with nothing but cookies and oatmeal and figure out what they're going to do. So this next 3 games, I think, will determine if this team has what it needs to make a playoff push. Whether you decide that the team's good enough and you fire the coach, or you decide that Tree Living's an idiot and you fire the GM, so you have a new GM going into the deadline, because that's another option. Because I'm not even saying the option has to be out of the Olympic break. If you lose the next 3, you sell every single player. It's one of you have to figure out, is it the players? Did the GM not put the right players together? Or is the coach the problem? That's what, depending on how these next 3 games go leading into the Olympic break, you have 2 weeks to figure out what your strategy is. And let's say you decide to go get a new coach, you basically have 2 weeks to go find one.
Well, you said, Jacob, they gotta go 3-0 these next 3 games, right?
Yeah, I do. That's how I feel.
Okay, so what happens if you lose tonight? But you can't go 3-0.
You're still going to wait to evaluate until the Olympic break, because then you have
you can't panic. But Dan, you can't panic. That's what you can. No, because Dan, stop. Just stop and let me, because if you panic, Dan, guess what happens when you panic buy? Things only get worse. That's what's happened in the past. You can't keep, this is why this fan base sucks. This is why just NHL fans mostly, and sports fans in general, just suck. Because they think that, like, if you make a move, like, you just got to make a move automatically. Like, you just have to.
Sometimes the best move is
if you don't, it sucks. Doing nothing is not necessarily a bad thing. Doing nothing doesn't, like, it sucks, but it doesn't mean, like, it's not as bad as, like, everybody seems to think it is. Because doing nothing means that you're at least thinking before you make a move. Because if you do it again, it's like making the Brandon Carlo move. Was it a great move? Because you probably didn't think about it too much. You just made the move because you thought you needed to, because this fan base was moaning for 3 months about doing something at the deadline. And, like, it's the same thing. Like, this fan base, I think a big thing that Toronto needs to stop doing is stop listening to their damn fan base. This front office needs to just stop doing it, because this fan base, like, it's making, like, it complains. And then when they do something, it just ends up complaining anyways, because they think it's the wrong move, because it wasn't what they wanted. It's like their fan base just needs the front office needs to stop listening to the fans and just do what they think is necessary. And if that's trading everybody, trade everybody. I could care less at this point. Just do something, but don't panic. That's all I ask is this front office doesn't do, is just don't panic buy somebody that we don't necessarily need. Wallstead would be cool, but he would be expensive.
No, but this is saying for Montreal, and I think this would be a great move for Montreal.
It would be great for Montreal, but I wouldn't overpay for.
You know what? Time to move on from Patrick Laine.
Yeah,
the Wild are desperate for more scoring.
Yeah,
I think this is a win-win situation. You move Laine and one of your 18,000 prospects in Montreal, bring in Wallstead, who's a very young goaltender.
Yeah,
and this is a guy that makes you better now.
If that was Montreal.
This is a guy that makes you better now and in 5 years. Patrick Laine does not fit on this team. Get rid of him.
I don't think Laine works in Minnesota either.
I think he does. I think Minnesota is desperate for offense, because Minnesota, when you start again, I'm just reading statistics here. Minnesota, their goal differential was only a +21, while being one of the best defensive teams in the league. So they need more goal scoring. Like they've only, to point of perspective, they've only scored 179 goals versus like Edmonton of 190, Colorado 203, Dallas 181. You have teams that aren't making the playoffs who score more goals consistently than the Minnesota Wild. And the Wild, if Kaprizov gets hurt, you're cooked. You need someone else that can bring in some offense, and you need to do it without giving up the farm, the whole team, because look, I think the Wild feel if they can just get by Dallas that they can go on a run. So I think bringing in Laine to improve a so-so power play and only giving up a goalie that you're not really using, that's a win-win situation.
I have a
gas. Wild, then I'm going to go get Panarin. Why go get Laine? Like,
because
I get
Panarin's going to cost you too much.
Like, I'm going no, but if the Wild want to win a cup, Jacob, if the Wild want to win a cup this year, if they want to win a cup this year, I would rather have that's just for this year. They don't need to re-sign Panarin. They don't need to do that necessarily. If they're going
but does
for a
Panarin
rental,
want to come to Minnesota? Probably not.
No, I don't know. We don't know because it hasn't
no offense,
been
no one wants to go to
we
Minnesota.
Don't know because
That's the reason why they struggle to get players.
But if Panarin wants to go to Minnesota, if I'm Bill Guerin, I'm not going to go get like cool. It would be cool to have Laine, I guess. But like again, Laine is not consistently as good as he used to be. He's not. But Artemi Panarin, even if it is a rental, I'm taking Artemi Panarin. I would go and get Panarin because I think it's what this team is. It's that it's a team that needs to compete. I would rather Artemi Panarin than Patrick Laine because Laine has also had attitude issues. He's had issues. That's why he's on his fourth team in his career. It's because
you know who doesn't have attitude issues? Mr. More for your money, and he's called for the donkey butt.
I totally agree with Jacob's take. If Toronto doesn't go 3-0 in these next 3 games, they're done. So if they don't win tonight, we can't go 3-0. If they don't win tonight against Vancouver, Craig Berube gets fired. Gas or ass?
Ass, it won't happen. It won't happen. They're not going to do anything.
They're not going to bring him back next year. Won't bring him back next year for sure.
They're not firing Berube this year.
You don't think so?
No, because if they're not going to make the playoffs, why are you going to pay Berube and pay another coach for no reason?
Because they got money at waste. Do you think like we're not in the offseason, we won't bring him back for sure, right?
If they don't make the playoffs, Berube's gone, and so is Treliving.
Yeah.
But I'd say after tonight, no, I don't think Berube's fired just because if and I'm going to say this when they lose to Vancouver tonight because I don't think they're going to beat Vancouver tonight.
Oh.
I said don't panic. Don't panic.
I'm not panicking. I just don't think they're going to beat Vancouver tonight.
Oh my God. Jacob, that's not what I was responding to. You don't let me finish. You just interrupt. But no, it's both. It's everybody. Okay. No, don't panic. And panicking would be firing Berube tonight. I'm going to keep saying it. And I don't care if people think I'm crazy or whatever. It's not the end of the earth yet. So let's all just like mellow out a little bit. You know, Craig Berube is not coming back this offseason. I don't care what he does to end this year. Craig Berube doesn't deserve a job. Treliving doesn't deserve a job in the offseason. Everybody in this organization should be fired. I don't care what they do this year. I could care less because they all deserve to be fired because it's just been a disaster this whole year. And so everybody should get fired this offseason. And you know what? Don't do it now. Like, you might as well just keep him at this point. Like it's not, it could only we're already not in the playoffs. How much worse could it really get at this point? Like, honestly, how much worse could things really be? It could not get any worse than what this season has already been.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Honestly, like this season can't be any worse. So why fire him now? Like, if you really don't want to make the playoffs, why fire him now?
Send a message.
Fire him now.
I don't know. Like, send a message, try to tank for a high draft pick. Like,
what message? Because the message they sent by firing another coach didn't bloody work. What's the point? There's no message that they're sending. What they're sending is that, yeah, you guys playing like crap to get a coach fired is okay. And like, you know what? You guys aren't going to face any punishment. The coach is just going to get fired. There's no message that they're sending. They're sending a fake message that means nothing.
Mind you,
2 months ago, yeah.
It's what I said 2 months ago.
Pray they trade for a run like St. Louis, like they did. And hey, obviously, we all would love to see the Leafs go on a run like
different situation.
I just don't see. I don't see Berube really working.
Berube was brought in that
what
situation.
This team is.
Somebody else was fired for Berube to come in that situation. These are two different situations.
In Montreal. Hughes is their GM, by the way. Charles, they pace it. They don't expect any big trades. They have Fowler, so they'll go for a goalie. See, I just don't think Fowler's NHL ready yet, which is why I think Montreal going for a goalie actually makes a lot of sense.
No, but I can understand why they aren't going for a goalie, because I can understand, because I don't think you're I'm not saying you don't understand what he's saying, but like what Hughes meant was that they have Fowler for the future. So why acquire a goalie that's just going to ruin their plan with Jacob Fowler eventually?
It doesn't ruin the plan though, because then you can just tell Dobas and Montembeault to take a hike next year.
No, but Dobas,
neither one of them are good.
One of their guys though, but of course this team is atrocious. It's not great defensively. It's not a great team defensively. Like, it's not just goalie's fault.
No,
the defense isn't playing to what it should.
Montreal for Luke Shen.
But like, I think that like they should just go into the offseason and deal with it in the offseason. Like, if you can't get anybody that you want now, just wait until the offseason. Like,
I don't mind Montreal going for Robert Thomas.
Why panic? Why panic buy now? Like, why panic buy?
No, I don't think it's panic buying, but I think
Montreal, Ken Hughes is a phenomenal GM. So
I think Montreal is a team that is in a bit of a weird predicament because they're kind of where they were last year, and I think people thought they'd be a little bit better last year.
No, I disagree. I think Montreal is way better than last year. You have Hughes as one of the best defensemen in the league this year. You got Noah Dobson as well, the best free agent signing this whole offseason. You have a Dantonov who could arguably win Rookie of the Year. And then you have Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield have really stepped it up. I think out of all the teams we talked about today, I think Montreal's in the place. If they can get a decent goalie, they can make a cup one. I really like this team.
I will say, actually, I will be standing corrected. Montreal was a much worse team this time last year than they are right now.
Yeah, it's like, well,
but what I mean is,
he's a great coach.
They ended the season as a wild card team. They are currently a wild card team.
Well, barely.
So, now, mind you, by the end of tonight, they could end up being back in the top 3 in the Atlantic. But yeah, I just think Montreal, I think if you feel Montreal can make a decent run this year, I think you need to go get another goalie. And the reason why I like the Waldstad situation is I don't really feel Dobas or Montembeault are the guy.
I think Dobas has played well.
He's inconsistent. There's no...
But his record suggests... But if his record suggests he's 17-5-3, his numbers don't look great. But so does Dennis Hildeby's numbers. Don't look particular. But he's winning games at the end of the day.
Actually, Dennis Hildeby, it's the other way around. He's got great stats, and his record's not great.
Okay, but Dobas is still winning games despite how the defense is playing in front of him. Goalies haven't been playing great, but so is the defense. You can't just blame the goalies for this.
I'm not just blaming the goalie, but I don't think the goaltending in Montreal... Like, Dobas this year, it's got an .890 save percentage and a 2.96 goals against average and no shutouts. Like, he's okay.
Not bad. Right. It's not bad. He's also a rookie. He's also a rookie goal in NHL.
I understand that. I just... Look, I guess maybe I have too high expectations for Montreal. I think you give Montreal a shutdown defenseman and a better goalie, and I think they could go on a run. That's how
your expectations are very high on this team. Those are
look at that team. They have depth. They have scoring.
They're
they got
phenomenal.
Speed, they got great coaching. I think
they're
Montreal,
not a goalie away from a cup.
I didn't say a cup. I said a run.
No, but I'm just saying in general.
Go get a good goalie.
Because Dan said they were. Dan said they were. I'm gonna say they're still young. Where I don't think they need to go out, because there's a reason Ken Hughes is not going to go out and panic. It's because he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he wants to do with this team. And so he's not going to go out and panic when he thinks there is a better situation, when there is the potential for it to be better to wait until the offseason, which is what he's doing. I'm not going to question a guy who's been doing as great as he's been doing yet. And I don't think Montreal needs to panic, and they're not going.
I think it's not
panic to go out and get a goalie. but like I don't think their situation is as bad as like I don't think their goaltending hasn't been great. Dobish hasn't been as great as maybe he should be, but he's also been put into a situation which he's been, again, goalies have been peppered by shots in Montreal. And again, he was relied on heavily when Sam Montembeault left the team. And it's like, I don't think it's like, I think he's been great given the situation he's been put in. Jacob Fowler wasn't great when he was up here either, but that's more so to do with,
he's just not
again,
an NHL
like
ready.
he was thrusted into a situation which he was ill prepared for. But like, again, like Sam Montembeault, I think is the bigger issue than I think Dobish you keep because Montembeault's
I keep Dobish for sure.
Well, no, but I think you guys are missing. I think you guys are missing what I'm getting at is that the goaltending from last year to this year, I think a lot of areas in Montreal has improved, and your goaltending has gotten worse with the same guys.
Yeah,
and with a better defensive core than what it was last year.
Yeah. I don't think it's gotten worse. I think it's exactly what it was.
Numbers don't lie. Montembeault last year had a 2.82 goals against average, a 902 save percentage, and along with that, he didn't have any shutouts. This year, he's got a 3.46 goals against average and an 868 save percentage. Actually, sorry, he had 4 shutouts last year, no shutouts this year. On a team that is better defensively than they were last year. Dobis as well. We're based at that. That's Montembeault. Dobis, we're singing a very similar tune. Dobis last year had a 909 save percentage and a 274 goals against average. This year, a 2.9 goals against average, a 890 save percentage. Not as much of a dip, but still a dip nonetheless. Montreal's goaltending is the one piece that's gotten worse this year.
Correct.
So if you can address it, I don't see a harm in either. I don't mind giving up some prospects because I don't think Montreal's at the point where they're worrying about building 10 years down the road. I think they're looking to try to win maybe next year. So if you can get a Wallstad or you call the New Jersey Devils about Jake Allen, just bring him back again.
Why not?
Stabilize his goaltending position. And maybe you move on from Montembeault, you keep Dobis, give Fowler another year in the AHL, which I think is what he needs.
We've seen Fowler play in the AHL. He's a good goalie.
But I look at Montreal and I really think with better goaltending, they could go on. Not saying I don't think they can win a cup this year, but I do think Montreal can go on a run. And
can I say why I don't think the goaltending's worse? Because you're just throwing a lot of stats, but Sam Montembeault wasn't the same issues Sam Montembeault had this year he had last year. He just played great for stretches, and it's like those covered it up. But Montembeault has never been a great goaltender. I know. I've heard complaints about it constantly from my friend. It's like it's the same. Like he's had like little spurts of amazingness, and everybody thinks he's like he was great, but he wasn't particularly amazing last year. It's just his stats have gotten worse this year because he's ran out of luck. Like the situation isn't statistics. Yeah, Jacob's statistics don't lie. Sure, yeah, but his statistics weren't great last year. They've gotten worse this year.
Better than this year.
I also don't think, but the team, but like I will say that the defense looks a lot better on paper. They also lost Caden Gooley for a while.
Yeah,
they lost other pieces for a while. They've had injury issues defensively, but the defense also hasn't been as amazing as I think everybody expected it to be. And I think that's a big thing. But also, like I don't think Dobish has been as bad. Hasn't been phenomenal, but he hasn't also been horrendous. Montembeault has been about what I didn't expect Montembeault to be anywhere near as good as he was last year because he wasn't great last year. So
I didn't expect Montembeault to take this much of a dip though, right? Like I never thought he was a Vezina caliber goalie, but I thought he was mediocre. Dobis I would put in the mediocre category. He's finding ways to win games, it's just super important. But he's also, he's I think Montreal has a chance to win every night when your goalie lets in less than 3, and that's what Dobis has been consistently doing. I just feel if this team wants to take the next step in the playoffs, if you can get a goaltender that's either going to be good for you the next 5-6 years down the road, or a goalie that's maybe only going to be good for another 2 years, but you don't have to give up a lot for. Like I don't think the price on Jake Allen is going to be crazy high. So maybe you go for a guy like a Jake Allen to come back here, bring some veteran presence in the net, and just stabilize that position a little bit. And an interesting comment about the Montreal defense, like Matherson, Dobson, Hughes, and Hudson and Gooley, that's a pretty good top four. But to Adam's point, they've had a lot of injuries. Montreal will be another team. I think their next few games will tell a lot on how aggressive they will be at the deadline, whether they buy or they sell.
Oh, Montreal,
let's say Montreal loses their next few games going into the Olympic break. They've dropped quite a bit down in the wild card position. Buffalo continues to go on a run. All of a sudden, it's looking okay. They're probably another wild card team, not a divisional team. And then maybe you're considering, okay, let's not make a move for a goalie and let's wait to the offseason. Let's say Montreal actually gets on a bit of a run going into the deadline. You feel they're a team that can maybe push, especially if no Florida making the playoffs this year, which has been everyone's Achilles heel lately. Then because you may have no Florida, no Washington, and no Toronto in the playoffs this year. Like it's going to be, besides Tampa Bay and Carolina, it's going to be pretty open. It's not going to be the teams that have been dominating in the playoffs the last 5 years. So for these teams like Detroit, Buffalo, Islanders, I even throw a Pittsburgh in that mix. These might be deadlines where you're a bit more aggressive just because you're not having to go through so many teams that are harder to get through, like Toronto. Say what you want about Toronto. They pushed Florida to the brink last year. Florida is a team that, going in against Carolina and completely dummied them. Maybe even this is the year Carolina is super, super aggressive. You talk about a team that should go get Marin. That's the Carolina Hurricanes. Because, Dan, I know you keep saying, well, Nikolai Ehlers could have replaced Mitch Marner. Nikolai Ehlers going to replace Mitch Marner in a lineup at Wendy's, like not on the ice. So Carolina, I could see them being that aggressive. It's just, I think this is more open because the teams that have dominated the last 5-6 years, besides of Tampa, are potentially might not be in the playoffs in the East. I think the East is more open than it's ever been. So you might see teams like Montreal and Detroit and Buffalo maybe take a bit of a more aggressive stab just because they know they don't have to go through some of these teams like Florida and Washington that have been a bit of an Achilles heel at times. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, good point. I could definitely see Carolina being very aggressive on the deadline. I think they got a lot of really good prospects that a lot of teams would be happy to have. And, they made it to the third round past how many years, right? And they tried last year, a whole Mikko Rantanen situation, give him a lot of credit for that, but it didn't work. So try something big again. Nikolai Ehlers was a nice addition. He's third on the team in points, He's done a great job, but you need a little bit more, right? Taylor Hall, again, nice addition. He's got he's got 27 points in 53 games plus 3. Logan Stakeover, again, nice addition, 25 points in 53 games. You got Jason Blake has really stepped it up with 32 points, 53 games. Like you got a lot of really good, solid pieces of Carolina. Let's need to get over that hump.
And with Montreal, they are the youngest team. This is an interesting comment here. Year 4 of their rebuild and have a lot of great prospects on the way. I just wonder, depending on what you can get, is this year maybe they move a prospect? Because they've been doing everything about moving prospects. This might be the year Montreal decides to move a prospect if it can make them better now and in the next 3 years down the road. That's all I'm getting at about Montreal. Maybe my expectations are too high. I'd love to hear from Montreal fans. Maybe I'm crazy. But whenever I watch this Montreal team, I see a team with a lot of potential that I think if you put in a good shutdown defenseman to stabilize the D a little bit and a goaltender that consistently can stop 90% of the shots they face, I think this is a team that could go on not a cup run, but I think could at least get to the game 7 of the second round, which is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if I can do that without trading the whole farm, maybe just trading one of my 10,000 prospects, because Montreal has so many prospects. Yeah. As long as, I wouldn't trade for, people say Jordan Binghamton. I think that'd be a bad decision in Montreal because he's old. He's old and he's washed. Jake Allen is older, but he's not washed. Waldstad is very young and is in the Rookie of the Year conversation.
Like
that's kind of where I'm at for
give him up.
A team like Montreal. By the way, Colorado is beating Detroit 4-0 with a minute left in the second, and the Kings and Flyers are tied at 2 apiece at the moment. So if you're a Leaf fan, you're quite happy about that Colorado score.
Right.
Because Detroit's one of the teams you're hypothetically chasing if you're Toronto.
That's right. Yep.
But we've had some great conversations this afternoon.
We have.
A lot of interesting conversations about different teams across the league. We will be releasing a Olympic break grade system of a bunch of teams coming up. So watch out for that. Also, just so everyone is aware, the CFO tampering window opens up tomorrow. So we will be doing a CFO tampering free agent window preview show. We're going to be recording that today, so that can drop tomorrow. Because I am working an extremely long day tomorrow, so I can't go on the desk at my day job. I got to work about 14 hours. Wow. So very interesting. Before we go, though, I am curious. We've been talking about a lot of teams thinking about potentially buying. I'm surprising no one's really talked about the Sharks.
Yeah, I think we could buy for sure. We focus more on the Eastern Conference for whatever reason today, but the West.
Well, we talked about the Wild.
Yeah, but the West got some really good teams too. I could definitely see the Sharks making a move. I could see Anaheim making a move. Obviously, you look at Seattle last night against the Leafs; they look really good. 2 nights ago,
good against the Leafs lately.
You know, they could see make a move. LA, you know, maybe they can make a move. Even Utah looked a lot better than they did last year, right? So, but Utah's in the hardest division in hockey. Same with Nashville. They're better than last year, but I don't think they're quite at the point where they can compete. Now, maybe they can compete for a wild card, but doesn't mean they're going to compete.
Rumor is Nashville should be shopping Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, exactly. I still think Nashville's still selling.
Talk about a depth piece for someone.
Oh my gosh, I love that guy.
To playoff performer, that'd be a great move for someone. But
for sure, 100%.
I think we'll be signing off for now, though, as we got to get, we have other shows we got to record today. We might try to come on for a Leafs post game tonight. We'll see how everyone at the desk is feeling. But I do want to thank everyone for joining us at the desk on this Saturday afternoon. If you are a new viewer and you haven't yet,
subscribe to our channel.
Every subscriber helps with the algorithm. Make sure that we can get this great content out to as many people as physically possible. Adam isn't shaking today because Fun Fish is Motor Emily didn't show up in the comments today.
I don't really care.
Remember, too, though,
Thanks
also
for the great comments, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great comments, everyone. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok as well.
Detroit losing today means that Buffalo was 1 point behind after tonight's game. There's a comment there, Jacob.
Yeah, I know. We put it on the screen already, but I'll put it up again for you, Dan. Yeah, Detroit lose. If Detroit does end up losing today, which, I mean, Colorado's been struggling of late. They could blow a 4-0 lead. You never know. Montreal or Buffalo, will be a point behind Detroit. So the Atlantic's getting very interesting. It's just very different than what it was this time last year. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining us at the desk, where every day feels like game day. I'm Jacob Moore, the sports analyst, joined by Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
And Adam, the GOAT. Until next time, thank you for joining us at the desk, where every day feels like game day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.